You have a birthday party you will never remember. Somewhere in a drawer there is a photo of it. You are 2 years old. You are laughing. You have absolutely no memory of that moment, even though you were there, fully awake, fully alive. Most people assume this is just because they were too young to understand what was happening. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain was not failing to record that day. It was choosing not to. For decades, scientists called this gap in memory infantile amnesia. Almost everyone experiences it. The average adult cannot recall anything before the age of 3.5. Some people stretch back to 2. Almost no one goes earlier. And this is strange, because by the age of 2, a child can walk, talk, recognize faces, and form preferences. The hardware for memory looks like it should be working. So why does nothing stick? The first big clue came from a researcher named Carolyn Rovey Collier. She studied infant memory by tying a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a mobile hanging above the crib. Kick your leg, the mobile moves. Babies as young as 3 months old learned this fast. They remembered it for days, sometimes for weeks. So infants can clearly form memories. They are not blank slates. The problem isn't storage. The problem is retrieval. Here is where it gets strange. A baby's brain is not a smaller, simpler version of an adult brain. It is a different machine entirely, optimized for a different task. Think about what an infant actually needs to survive. Not facts, not timelines, not the memory of a specific Tuesday. An infant needs to learn how the world works in general, how gravity behaves, how faces move, how sounds connect to comfort. This is called statistical learning, and it happens at a blistering pace in the first 2 years of life. But there's a trade-off. To learn general patterns at that speed, the brain seems to sacrifice the ability to file away specific, dated, personal events. Researchers call this kind of memory episodic memory, and it depends heavily on a brain structure called the hippocampus. Picture the hippocampus as a librarian. Its job is to take a single experience and stamp it with a time, a place, and a feeling, then file it on a shelf you can return to later. In infancy, this librarian is still being built. The shelves exist. The filing system does not. A neuroscientist named Paul Franklin ran an experiment that made this almost impossible to ignore. He studied mice, whose hippocampus develops new neurons rapidly in early life, much like a human infant's does. He found that the faster new neurons were being added, the faster old memories seemed to disappear. When he slowed down that neuron growth, the mice held on to memories longer. When he sped it up, memories vanished faster. The same rapid construction that builds a brain capable of learning the world also appears to bulldoze the specific memories formed along the way. So your earliest memories were not lost. They were demolished by your own development. Your brain was under massive construction, and the construction crew did not care about preserving the furniture. There's a second piece to this puzzle, and it has nothing to do with neurons. It has to do with language. Before children can speak in full sentences, they cannot organize an experience into a story, and a memory that survives long-term tends to be one that has been turned into a narrative. We went to the park. I fell down. Mom picked me up. That structure, that sequence, gives a memory a shape that can be stored and later retrieved. A psychologist named Catherine Nelson studied this directly, recording toddlers talking to themselves before sleep, narrating their day in fragmented looping sentences. She found that children who developed this kind of self-narration earlier also tended to retain personal memories from an earlier age. The act of telling yourself the story of your day appears to be part of what makes the day stick. Without language, an experience can still happen. It can still register, briefly, but it has nowhere to land. There is no sentence to hang it on. It drifts. Now here is the genuinely unsettling part. Infantile amnesia does not happen all at once, and it does not happen the way most people assume. Researchers studying young children found something almost paradoxical. A 3-year-old can describe an event from a year earlier in vivid detail. Ask that same child about the same event 2 years later, and the memory is often gone completely. The forgetting isn't gradual decay, like an old photograph fading in sunlight. It happens in a kind of cliff. The memories were there. Then, abruptly, they weren't. What does this tell you? It tells you that your earliest self did not die slowly. It was overwritten, deliberately, by the brain that came after it. Think about what that means for identity. You assume there's a continuous thread connecting the person reading this sentence to the toddler in that birthday photo. Same name, same body, technically, but almost none of the experiences the toddler had survived the transition. The person who learned to walk, who tasted food for the first time, who heard their own name for the first time and didn't yet know what it meant, that person is gone in every way except biologically. You inherited their body. You did not inherit their memories. This isn't a flaw in human design. It's a strategy. Consider what the alternative would look like. A brain that retained every sensory detail from infancy, every blurry face, every unprocessed sound, every emotion without context, would be carrying an enormous archive of experiences it has no framework to interpret. Some researchers have proposed that holding on to pre-linguistic, pre-narrative memories might actually interfere with healthy development, cluttering the mind with raw data it cannot yet make sense of. Forgetting, in this light, isn't a malfunction. It's clean construction. Tear down the scaffolding once the building can stand on its own. And this pattern doesn't fully stop at age 4. You have probably noticed that memories from your early childhood are fewer and stranger than memories from your teenage years. Then, somewhere around your adolescence, memory suddenly becomes dense, vivid, almost cinematic. Psychologists call this the reminiscence bump. You remember your teenage years and early 20s in unusually rich detail compared to almost any other period of your life. Why? Because that is the period when your sense of self was being assembled. The brain seems to hold tightest to the memories that help build the identity you are still using today. Which means memory was never really about recording your life accurately. It was about constructing a self that could function. Your brain isn't a camera. It's an editor with a single client, the version of you that needs to keep walking forward. So when you scroll through old photos of yourself as a toddler and feel nothing, no flicker of recognition, no inner echo, that absence is not a failure of your mind. It's evidence of how your mind was built. Every adult on earth shares this exact same blind spot, this same invisible person they used to be and can no longer reach. Tonight, when you try to recall what you were doing exactly 1 year ago today, notice how much of it is already gone, smoothed over, rewritten. You are not the same archivist you were back then. You are already forgetting today, in real time, in service of becoming whoever you are about to be next. That 2-year-old in the photo never really vanished. You simply became someone the memory of them could no longer reach.